is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar. Joseph Farah, the editor-in-chief over at WorldNetDaily.com, WND.com. He also founded the Western Journalism Center. He ran some of the biggest newspapers in the United States before doing that. Was the first really constitutionalist, libertarian, conservative, proto-Tea Party publication out there. Other than maybe you could say Newsmax, but that was more mainline Republican. And really a trailblazer. He joins us just for the next 25 minutes or so because I wanted to get him on about the persecution of Dinesh D'Souza, the persecution of governors over things that clearly I don't think are illegal. Compared to what Obama's doing, I mean, it's clearly political persecution by this undoubtedly corrupt Justice Department headed up by Eric Holder. But then we learned that Google told WorldNet Daily that they're not going to let them run their ads anymore because they have articles about, quote, black mobs. It's happening here in Austin. Large groups of young black youth beating up white people. It is racial attacks. I mean, if it was a group of white people, it'd be a white mob. So we're seeing the censorship really intensify. I remember Joseph Farah said right before the last election, he said, look, I didn't endorse McCain or Obama last time. I wrote the book, none of the above. I was wrong because Obama is so bad. He's not a regular Democrat. They're going for it all. And, quote, we're going to be in jail, or they're going to try to put us in jail. We may have to leave the country. He said all this on air. So I wanted to repeat it all in his words. And I'm like, man, it's really that bad, Joseph? And he's like, yeah. Off air, he goes, I'm serious. That's the word. And now you got Matt Drudge tweeting that he's preparing an emergency exit plan, basically, and that you should, too. Most of the big elites have already left the U.S. People that have been part of this takeover have been leaving. This is serious business. You've got mainstream news now saying returning veterans are the main enemy, and they've got mock cities to fight the Tea Party. This is happening. Joseph, let's talk about the political persecution.
All right, but will you indulge me before we get into that to just say one thing that I know you're too modest to allow me to say, but just give me 2 minutes to say.
You bet.
That you guys at InfoWars and you, Alex, are really doing an extraordinary public service. I have to tell you, first of all, WND's been around for 17 years, before Newsmax, by the way. And during most of those years, we honestly, we joke about it at WND, that we were sitting on stories for days, sometimes weeks, big stories. But we knew that nobody else was going to do those stories, so we'd be relaxed about it. Well, in recent years, we have noticed that we've gotten scooped by InfoWars so many times on stories that I think are really important. And specifically, I want to commend you for sticking on this, the ammunition buys by the federal government. I mean, this is how we find out about these things, because InfoWars is on the case. And recently, the thing about the driver's license registration database that they're starting, InfoWars is kicking butt, and I want to hand it to you. And I feel like, for the first time, we've got it sharpens us at WND, because we can't sit around on our hands anymore taking for granted that we're going to have these stories exclusively, and that's a good thing. Competition is a friendly, healthy competition. That's what you guys are providing, and I think it's made us better for it. So just wanted to put that out there. Now, with regard to the topic at hand, you're right. I remember saying those words, and you bring out the best in me, Alex. Sometimes, I need somebody to poke me a little bit on the air to say what I'm really thinking, and you're good at that. But, yeah, what we're seeing today with the, persecution of Dinesh D'Souza, and let's talk about Ben Carson, and, we can get into the Google thing. But, Dinesh D'Souza is a great example, because here's a guy who, was one of the highest profile Obama critics during the 2012 presidential election year. Makes a film that, second highest grossing documentary ever, all about Obama. And, we turn around, and in early 2014, here this guy is getting indicted. This guy billion books, and he made this movie. And now, let's just say for a moment, he's 100% guilty of the campaign finance charges that he's facing. Let's say he's 100% guilty. You're the President of the United States. You're the Attorney General. Do you go and indict this guy on this penny ante charge, knowing what that looks like to the whole nation? It looks like retribution. It looks like payback. And I got to tell you, if you want to get somebody who's involved in politics and who makes political donations, the way the campaign finance laws are written in this country, it's easy to do. You can get anybody who's involved, and every campaign breaks the law or skirts the law because nobody can read all the laws.
And then you've got this famously corrupt Justice Department with Fast and Furious, Benghazi, Solyndra, now sitting in judgment and persecuting people. I mean, it's clearly persecution, and it's very creepy.
That's right. Now, but a normal president, a normally corrupt president, would look at that and say, you know what, back off on this. This is going to look bad. It's going to look like we're going after our political enemies. They have no they don't look at that at all. They're just completely oblivious to that. They don't care. In fact, I believe they're sending a message by indicting Dinesh D'Souza to guys like you and me and Drudge and the other new media folks out there who are getting to them, and they want us to be looking over our shoulder all the time. Ben Carson, the guy gives a speech at the National Prayer Breakfast with Obama there. He turns around a couple months later. The IRS is giving him a proctological exam, and it's still going on. And, thank goodness he's a man of courage. He's not backing down. He's exposing it. A lot of guys don't want to talk about those things when it's happening to them because they don't want to become pariahs. And here's another thing about this, Alex. When D'Souza got indicted, I personally went and called lots of people I know, people whose names everyone would recognize. And I said, how come you're not speaking out on this? Because, this is a big deal, what we're seeing happen right now. And you know that a lot of these guys, a lot of people, they're friends of mine. I don't want to name them. I don't want to embarrass them. A lot of people were afraid to speak out. I don't know the facts. I don't know the details. Come on, details. This is payback. It's political payback. It's so obvious. And a lot of them still have not spoken out.
And that's a test by the authoritarians. Can they start setting people up? Can they start going after folks? And these people that do this, that are cowards, so I know you spoke up, Drudge spoke up, I spoke up, many others did, many didn't. It shows they have no instinct. Clearly, he just gave a little extra money, and his friends did, to somebody who he went to college with, and it was in a hard race against the Democrats, and they lost it. And it was out in the open, and bundling's done by everybody. It's kind of like Ken Lay. What he did wasn't illegal, and that was later found to be. I've looked at the law. At best, it's a crooked toenail. That's why they're trying to get him on giving false statements to the FBI, because he might have said something a little different one time, a little different the next time. That's why you can't talk to him, because they always get you for claiming you said something wrong. So the answer is, I'm not talking to you. And the fact that people wouldn't have the instinct to defend the press. Imagine if Bush and his Justice Department, we know Michael Moore. In fact, somebody should do a story on this and look at his donation records. I know he gives big money to the Democrats. We ought to find somebody. He's given more than $3,000 or whatever the max is. Right. And imagine if George W. Bush, Joseph Farah, I want your take on this. I know I'm ranting. Imagine if George W. Bush, 2 years after Fahrenheit 9/11, if he would have had Michael Moore indicted, what would have happened? I mean, I would have come out against Bush.
Well, this is exactly the point I've been trying to make. In fact, I tried to get in touch with Moore just to have him comment on it. What do you think about this? And I wanted to ask the question. I never got to because he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Well, let's just put the issue on the other foot. If this happened, what would you have thought? Because I want to get to the conscience, if they have them, of the liberals who, if the shoe were on the other foot, they would be looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, this is obvious payback, this is obvious political retribution. But they can't see it when it's so obvious with Dinesh D'Souza and Ben Carson, and on we could go.
And we know the White House is using regulation and the IRS to harass their enemies. The Democrats are now on the news saying, hey, we want the IRS to shut down our competition. Get in there and do more.
And that was an amazing thing. You know, do you know how dumb I am? I didn't figure that out until Pat Caddell made that remark. You know, it hit me like a lightning bolt. I said, of course he's right. What am I thinking? I'm really expecting the Republican establishment to try to protect the Tea Party movement, which is, you know, at their throats. I mean, it's a bigger threat to the Republican establishment than the Democrats are. Well, of course they're going to be okay with it. Why would they have congressional investigations? Why would they, why would they try to get to the bottom of this? They don't like the Tea Party movement any more than the Democrats do.
WND.com, the head guy, Joseph Farah, true trailblazer in real independent media. One final short segment with him. He's a hard guy to get on. I want to talk about where you think Obama's going, what you think he may try on the other side, and just generally in the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly with Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily. Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out an 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty. We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high-quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty. Looking at Obama and his presidency and the precedents it's setting, what are the stakes in your view?
Who was it? Martin Niemöller, who said, first they came for the communists and I didn't speak out, and because I was not a communist, and he went down the list of all, and when there was no, they came for me, but there was no one left to speak out for me. That's kind of where I see us right now. And I'm not, look, I know what everybody's going to say as soon as you say that. Oh, are you comparing the United States to Nazi Germany? Are you comparing Obama to Hitler? No, but if we can't learn the lessons of history, then you know what that means. And I think that's where we are right now, because, we talked about Dinesh D'Souza, Ben Carson, and others like that, and I don't see people out in the streets angry about this. And that's exactly what Niemöller was talking about. Now, where does this lead? We saw Obama tipped his hand long ago, even when he was running for president. And in his first term, he talked about building a civilian national security force that was as powerful and as large as the Defense Department. What did that mean? Now we see him, dismissing hundreds of senior officers in all the branches of the military, generals being purged. And, we see all kinds of, you guys are doing the stories. What is all this ammunition for? For domestic, domestic agencies within the United States.
Giant armored vehicles, drones. They say the main enemy's the Tea Party.
Hollow point bullets, the whole 9 yards, right? And then they say the hollow points are for, they say they're for target practice.
Yes.
Who uses hollow points for target practice, right? I mean, it's crazy stuff. Where's it going? I don't know where it's going, Alex, but I do know this, that if the opposition is not united and strong against this, that it will ruin this country. It will be the end of this country as it has been known, for 230 years.
If he keeps getting away with all these dictatorial power grabs that are historic, do you think there's any danger he might actually try to pull something and stay in, or just put so much evil in place that he leaves and then all of his operatives just keep running things?
Yeah, I think a part of him actually is going to be tired of being president. I think the bigger danger is, laying the groundwork for tyranny that cannot be easily undone when he's gone. You know, maybe he's going to handpick a successor. I don't know. But whatever it is, we can't let it happen. I mean, we've got to be in strong opposition to this guy. That's the key. Exposing. I mean, when he's out there bragging about using executive orders to legislate, I mean, that ought to be a sign to everybody. Liberals and conservatives alike ought to be saying, what? We have a constitution in this country. That's not what executive orders are for.
And Joseph Farah of World Daily, you just brought up the key final point. With friends like Karl Rove and John Boehner, who needs enemies? That's really the issue, is that these people are blocking any real resistance.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm starting a super PAC myself here to wage war in 2014 and 2016. And I think the key is, you know, using the tools that others have used, you know, in opposition to real competitive politics, to dominate politics, and use those tools to fight back and neutralize the Karl Roves of the world. That's something we got to do.
The Republican leadership is really scared of the Tea Party. That shows me we have a chance of actually taking over.
It's, you know, sadly, it's probably the only chance we have. There isn't enough time, Alex, as we talked about off the air, to do anything else. We can't start a party from scratch and compete with these. You know, there's so many advantages the two parties have structurally in this country. It's, you know, the only shot we have is taking over one or both of the parties. And I've always said take them both over. But you know, the one we have the best shot at right now is the Republican Party. We got to do it. That's why we named our super PAC Takeover.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, we'll be making some announcements about it shortly. But as usual, InfoWars, Alex Jones gets the scoop, even from my own mouth.
Joseph Farah, WorldNetDaily.com, WND.com. We got 30 seconds left. What would you like to leave us off with?
Oh, I'm going to make my TV debut in a few weeks, and then it's not on the Alex Jones show, oddly enough. It's on Amish Mafia. You ever watch Amish Mafia?
You know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I have watched Amish Mafia episode.
Yeah, well, that's a lighter note, but reality show.
Hey, you got to have some fun and inject some stuff there. I got a lot of listeners that way being on some of the cable shows, and they end up coming here. So, all right, well, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, man. God bless.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.